Going blind from homemade alcohol.
I cannot see, I'm legally blind.
Let's talk about it. When you think of making alcohol, you might also think of bootleggers, moonshine, and going blind. This is because there are many stories of people back in the day consuming homemade alcohol and losing their vision. Going blind is obviously far from ideal, and dangerous practices that lead to blindness should generally be avoided. So what are the dangers of homemade alcohol, and is there really a risk of going blind? Before we talk about going blind, it's important to first understand the two distinct ways that alcohol is created. The first of which is a method called fermentation, which is how wine and beer are made. This is a naturally occurring process where yeast convert the sugars in whatever it is you're fermenting into alcohol. For wine, that would be grapes, and for beer, it's grain. Fermentation by itself is typically a well-controlled process, mostly because specific strains of yeast are used and sugar content is carefully calculated to achieve desired levels of alcohol. The second method of alcohol production is called distillation and is how liquor is made. Distillation starts by fermenting potatoes, corn, or many other things, just like I described before, but the difference is that the fermented liquid is then boiled. Since alcohol has a lower boiling point than water, the alcohol evaporates first and is then collected into concentrated liquor. Now here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to try to explain this as simply as possible, but just know that there's a lot more science that goes into it than what I'm covering. Fermentation doesn't just produce ethanol, but it also produces very tiny amounts of methanol as well. The specific amounts vary based on what it is you're fermenting. If you didn't know, methanol poisoning is the real danger here, since when methanol is metabolized, it's converted into formic acid, which can cause severe damage to the optic nerve. For beverages that are just fermented, the methanol content is negligible and totally safe to consume. The real danger comes from distillation when the methanol evaporates and is then collected in high concentration. Commercial distilleries have several different methods of avoiding methanol, such as removing head or the first amount of vapor produced, since methanol is what evaporates first. Bootleggers making moonshine didn't account for this, and so when they tried to distill their own liquor, it was loaded with dangerous levels of methanol, hence the stories of people going blind. This is one of the reasons why recreational distillation is illegal and why fermentation is not. Overall, if you want to get into home brewing, I recommend sticking to beer, wine, or mead. And if you want to learn how, make sure to check out my recipe book. Whatever you do, don't try to distill anything yourself unless you're a professional or you just don't care about your vision. Make sure to follow to learn more about home brewing.